selfie damages priceless paint. Outrage in Italy. As tourist damages priceless 18th century painting at Florence Uffizi's gallery while taking selfie. The incident unfolded when the unmanned visitor tried to mimic the pose. In a moment of distraction, the man lost his balance and stumbled backward, crushing into the painting and leaving a hole near the prince's right boot. Now let's take a deep dive into this story on the AI podcast.
Okay, let's dive right in. Picture this. You're standing there, maybe in Florence, looking at this incredible 18th century painting, a grand portrait. Or maybe it's something completely different, a super modern art installation, all shimmering with delicate crystals.
Right, something unique.
Exactly. And you reach for your phone, for that perfect selfie.
The inevitable selfie.
Right. And just then, maybe you stumble a bit, lose your footing, and bam, that perfect photo attempt turns into, accidental vandalism against something priceless.
Oof. Yeah, that's pretty much the nightmare scenario for any museum, isn't it? That tension.
Huge tension.
Between letting people experience the art up close and, the absolute need to protect this stuff. It just shows how fast appreciation can turn into, destruction, even if you don't mean it.
It really does, and it brings up so many questions, which is exactly what we're getting into today. This deep dive is all about Italy's incredible cultural heritage. I mean, it's just packed with it. And the surprising, frankly alarming challenges it's facing now, with modern tourism, social media.
Yeah, the selfie culture again.
Totally. We're going to look at some really recent incidents, things that made headlines, where that desire for the perfect digital picture led directly to damaging irreplaceable art.
Right.
So our mission today is to kind of unpack all that, go beyond just the news flash, look at the specifics, what happened, what artworks were involved, and what it all means, for how we interact with art and history.
Okay.
Hopefully you'll come away with a clearer sense of that tricky balance between access and preservation.
And we're pulling this info straight from recent reports, official museum statements, that kind of thing. So it's pretty direct from the source.
Exactly. Gives us a real unvarnished look at what these places are dealing with. Okay, so first stop, the Uffizi Gallery in Florence. Iconic place.
Absolutely. World famous.
Well, not long ago, they had one of those moments you just described, a real gut-wrenching incident.
What was the piece?
It was an 18th century portrait. Ferdinando de' Medici, Grand Prince of Tuscany, painted by Anton Domenico Gabbiani.
Okay, I know the one.
And what makes it even sort of more poignant is that it was part of a brand new exhibition, Florence and Europe, Arts of the 18th Century.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was the very first big show under the gallery's new director, Simone Verde. Talk about timing.
Ouch. So what actually happened? How did it get damaged? Well, this is where it gets kind of unbelievable. Apparently, a tourist, they haven't named them, was trying to mimic the prince's pose in the painting, for a selfie.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And in doing that, they stumbled backwards, lost their balance, and just crashed right into the canvas.
Into the actual painting. Wow.
Yeah.
So what was the damage? Could you see it?
Apparently, yes.
Yeah.
A visible hole right near the figure's right boot.
Oh, man.
Now, later on, restoration experts said the damage was, quote, relatively minor, but still.
Minor or not, a hole is a hole. Must have been panic stations.
Absolutely. They had to take the painting down immediately for urgent repairs. So the exhibition, right at its launch, was disrupted.
That's terrible.
And, this brings up something else interesting, the environment itself.
How so?
Well, Sylvia Marlacchi, who represents the Museum Workers Union, pointed fingers at this low, dark platform the tourists tripped over. It was meant to keep people back,
Right, like a little barrier.
Exactly. But she argued they're unsuitable and too dark. Said visitors are looking up at the paintings, not down at their feet.
Makes sense.
And she even mentioned there'd been another incident. Someone tripped before, though luckily didn't damage anything that time. So maybe the safety measure itself was part of the problem.
That's a really crucial point. An unintended consequence.
Yeah.
And what did the new director, Verde, say about all this? I imagine he wasn't pleased.
Oh, not at all. He had some really strong words, called it a rampant problem. Visitors treating museums like backdrops for memes or selfies.
Rampant problem.
He basically said they need to set very precise limits on behavior that doesn't respect the art or the institution.
Good.
And he confirmed they identified the tourists right away and would be prosecuting.
Okay, so they're taking it serious.
Very seriously. It's a clear message, definitely. It shows how protective Italy is, maybe more than some other places, given just how much heritage they look after.
Yeah, the sheer volume is staggering.
But it does make you wonder, right? Can just prosecuting one person really change this whole culture of, like, digital first engagement?
That's the big question, isn't it? Okay, so from Florence, let's shift gears. Head over to Verona. Another incident just weeks before the Uffizi one.
Okay. Different kind of place.
Yeah, Palazzo Maffei. And a very different kind of artwork. This time, it was Nicola Boglia's Van Gogh chair.
The Van Gogh chair. Is it, like, related to Van Gogh?
Not directly. It's a contemporary piece inspired by him, I think. But the key thing, it wasn't a sturdy old chair. It was a sculpture covered in hundreds of tiny, fragile Swarovski crystals.
Oh, wow. So definitely not for sitting.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Purely visual, meant to be admired, from a safe distance, extremely fragile.
Okay, I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, well, security footage tells the story. A man and a woman come into the room, no guards around at that moment.
Oh.
The woman apparently tries to do that thing where you pretend to sit, hovering just above it for the photo.
Right, the classic fake-out pose.
But then her companion, well, he decides to go for realism.
Right.
He actually sits down on the crystal chair to make the photo look more, quote, convincing.
He sat on the Swarovski crystal chair.
He did.
What happened? Did it just shatter?
It collapsed backwards, crashed into the wall. The museum said it was severely bent and damaged.
Oh, my God.
And then the pair just left quickly.
They just ran off.
Yep. Fled the scene. The museum called it every museum's nightmare. For days, they were apparently just sick with worry, not sure if it could even be fixed.
I can only imagine. Just, wow. The audacity, too.
Right. But, okay, there's a bit of a positive turn here. Oh, good. Please tell me it was fixable.
It was, amazingly. Skilled restorers, with help from the police, actually managed to recover it.
That's incredible.
The museum was thrilled, said something like, thanks to the restorers, the piece is shining once again.
Oh, that's fantastic news. A relief.
Huge relief. And what's really interesting is how the museum handled it afterwards. They didn't just sweep it under the rug.
What did they do?
They used it. Launched this whole campaign about art conservation, visitor responsibility.
Smart.
Yeah, and their statement really stuck with me. Art is not just for seeing. It is to be loved. It is to be protected.
That's powerful. It's the nail on the head. It's about valuing it, not just looking.
Exactly. And, that leads us to the broader picture, because these two things, the Uffizi, the chair, they aren't just freak accidents, right?
No, sadly not. It feels like we hear about things like this happening in Italy quite a bit.
It's become this, disturbing pattern, reckless tourist behavior in a country that's basically one giant museum itself. It really is.
Yeah.
And when you connect the dots, you see it's often the same impulse, isn't it? The photo op seems more important than the place itself or the history or how fragile it might be.
Definitely. We've seen all sorts of other examples recently, haven't we? People vandalizing ancient Roman ruins.
Swimming in fountains they absolutely shouldn't be swimming in.
Yeah, or carving their names into the Colosseum. I mean, Colosseum.
It boggles the mind. It suggests this real disconnect. People travel all this way to see these incredible things, but then somehow that respect doesn't translate into their actions when they're actually there.
It really doesn't seem to sometimes. And the consequences, they can be pretty serious.
Yeah, it's not just a slap on the wrist usually.
No way. Often there's huge public anger, massive fines, like tens of thousands of euros.
And sometimes actual criminal charges, right?
Yeah.
Even jail time.
Absolutely. Italian authorities keep saying, we need more respect, and they warn they will prosecute. They seem really determined to protect these treasures.
Which they have to be. But it puts those museum officials, the authorities, in such a tough spot.
How do you mean?
Well, how do you balance that? You want people to see this stuff, right? Public access is important, but you have to protect it. It's this urgent existential need, especially with millions pouring in every year.
Millions who maybe don't fully grasp how incredibly fragile some of these things are. Ancient sites, delicate artworks.
Exactly. It's a massive tightrope walk.
Mhm.
And you can bet places like the Uffizi and Palazzo Maffei, after these incidents, are thinking really hard about how to walk that line better.
Yeah.
How to keep the art safe for the future, but also maybe foster more respect.
Yeah, foster that culture of respect. So thinking about all this, what's the takeaway for us? We've looked at these pretty startling incidents. They show how easily that desire to capture the moment, get the perfect Instagram shot, can clash, sometimes violently, with preserving history. It kind of forces us to admit that, the way we see art has changed, but our responsibility that hasn't.
Right. The challenge isn't just putting up barriers. It's about cultivating that deeper respect,
Yeah.
understanding the difference between really experiencing something and just
Yeah.
consuming it for a quick digital hit.
Yeah. When you personally are standing in front of some incredible artwork or an ancient site, what hits you? Is it just, wow, cool picture? Or do you feel that weight, the history, the need to protect it?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's the latter, but you have to be mindful.
Right, totally. And that leads to maybe the really provocative thought here. In this world we live in now, so curated by cameras, by instant sharing, what does it actually mean to appreciate art and cultural heritage today in this digital age?
Yeah.
Is it enough to just see it through your phone screen, capture that image, or does truly engaging with it demand something more? A deeper, more respectful presence where the art itself comes first, not the photo.
It's definitely something to chew on, prioritizing the actual thing over the image of the thing.
Exactly. Something to maybe keep in mind next time you find yourself in a museum or standing somewhere historic.
Should tourists be banned from taking selfies? Why or why not? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.